You grew up in a kind of quiet that taught you to dim your presence before anyone asked. You walk into a room and your posture edits itself, not out of shyness, but out of training. When good news happens, you brace for the part where it gets ignored. It's not drama, it's a low, steady hum that follows achievements and softens joy before it even lands. This isn't about value or talent. It's about a foundation poured with too much silence and too few mirrors. Over time, your mind learned to predict dismissal to avoid the shock of it. The lesson settled in your bones. Needs create trouble. Attention is unstable. Wanting is risky. After enough missed signals, you stopped signaling. Not because you didn't care, because you cared and learned care might echo back empty. You've seen that small scene 1,000 ways. A child tugging a sleeve that never gets a glance. A simple question left, floating until it expires. A birthday remembered by nobody, refiled as no big deal. From the outside, nothing explosive. Inside, a fault line running through identity. The lesson is not, I don't matter. The lesson is, it's safer to act like I don't. Silence can look kind. No yelling, no obvious harm, just distance. Absence, however, instructs. It teaches the body to hold breath a second too long. It teaches the voice to trim requests into polite hints. It turns excitement into a private ritual because shared excitement didn't go well. Adaptation kept you moving. Healing didn't happen just because time passed. You learned roles that protected connection while costing selfhood. The helpful one, the low-maintenance partner, the student who never interrupts. Visibility felt like a bet you couldn't cover, so you packed your needs small and built competence instead. Praise, rare or late, arrived like static. Lack of response confirmed the old math. Either way, you stayed unsure about celebrating out loud. Several private rules started running the show. Keep requirements tiny so nobody tires of you. Don't voice needs so you won't hear no. Earn good moments or they won't count. Control is safer than surprise because surprise once meant pain. You didn't write these rules, they wrote themselves inside moments when nobody answered. Daily life leaks proof. At work, you fix problems before anyone sees them and watch credit drift. In love, you scan your partner's weather and hide your own forecast. With friends and family, you carry the group's feelings and misplace your own. Alone, you mark the win silently and pretend it was nothing. Competence grows, appetite shrinks. One skill overgrew everything else: hyper-observation. You read tone, timing, micro pauses. You guessed outcomes, steered away from friction, noticed what others missed. That precision once kept you safe. Now it swivels outward so constantly that inward quiet becomes a blur. You know the room better than you know your body. Your body keeps receipts anyway. Jaw a little set, shoulders braced like a habit, sleep that rests muscles but not vigilance. A quickened pulse when messages lag. Joy arrives throttled, as if volume has a ceiling. You call it calm. It's closer to conservation. The world sometimes confuses this with maturity. You don't demand attention, you handle things, you stay composed. But there's a tax. The tax shows up in muted celebration, in reluctance to share first, in a reflex to downplay successes so no one can take them away. You minimize the chance of being overlooked by pre-overlooking yourself. This pattern doesn't mean cruelty surrounded you, only that acknowledgement was inconsistent or late. The nervous system records inconsistency as threat because it can't predict the next response, so it predicts less. It lowers anticipation. It adjusts you downward so the fall won't hurt. There's the paradox. The same reflex that spared you also narrows you. It protects connection by making you smaller inside it. It keeps rooms smooth while turning your inner landscape into a careful hallway. You become excellent at not being a problem. You stop being a person with texture where others can meet you. Even research frames this in simple terms. Consistent presence builds trust. Inconsistent presence builds doubt. Doubt becomes your template. You may have friends, work, a partner, yet a thin emptiness lingers, not because you are broken, but because the early mirror stayed foggy. Without reflection, identity forms with soft edges. Soft edges are easy to ignore, even by the one who wears them. You might notice how the same threads reappear. You wait to be invited instead of initiating. You measure your worth by how little you require. You keep your thoughts short to avoid inconvenience. None of that means you lack heart. It means you learn to survive a quiet room by becoming quieter. And you've likely paid in fatigue, high achievement that never feels enough, independence that rarely trusts support, peacekeeping that erases opinion, sometimes a hard stop. Why bother? Apathy. There is not emptiness. It's a tired nervous system calling a timeout on hope to conserve energy. Here's the neutral pivot that fits the reality you've lived. The same skills that kept you steady also made your edges faint. Both facts can be true without blaming anyone. Naming that duality is not advice. It's simply a more accurate map of where you're standing. Small openings change the map without grand gestures. A calendar square becomes worth a private note. You narrate a win to yourself in plain language instead of stripping it down. You mention a preference simply as information, not as a negotiation. These are not declarations. They are gentle signals your mind can register as safe and real. Clarity works like lines on a floor, not fences around a field. My time has value even when it looks quiet. I won't translate myself into something smaller to be easier. I can like what I like without building a courtroom. Lines like these describe where you stand. They don't demand someone else move. Expect wobble. Old reflexes don't disappear because you recognize them. You'll over-explain, then notice it. You'll undershare, then wish you hadn't. You'll misread a delay as rejection, then catch the jump. That isn't failure, it's the nervous system recalculating. The stumbles are part of learning a new cadence. That oversized skill, hyper-observation, doesn't need to vanish. It needs a new job. Outward, it can still read rooms when helpful. Inward, it can track signals you used to miss. A clenched hand at noon. A breath that stalls before sending a message. A lifted mood when you name a small success. The same precision that scanned others can notice you. Repair can include gratitude for the old setup. It kept you safe in places where acknowledgement was scarce. You don't have to shame it to outgrow it. You can thank the guard who watched the gate and still hire someone different for daytime, someone who welcomes guests and opens the blinds. Relationships can absorb the new lines without turning combative. Friends hear fuller sentences instead of polished summaries. Partners meet your preferences before they become pressure. Family encounters you without the translator. Some bonds stretch and hold, others reveal their limit. That information stings less when you're not bargaining with your own absence. There's no rescue crew coming, and none is missing. The point is not to become loud, it's to become accurate. Accurate about what you feel, what matters today, what pace keeps your nervous system honest. You still notice everything, but the first subject of your attention is no longer everyone else. Over time, these small signals accumulate. The voice that used to whisper becomes steady. Wins don't need a jury. Disappointments stop rewriting your worth. The hook of your life, the opening beat, stops being shrink to survive and becomes show up at the size of truth. The closing beat stops being wait to be seen and becomes remain visible to yourself when no one is watching. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from fluency in reading the world. That fluency can include you now. It won't look dramatic. It will look like ordinary days with fewer edits, more texture, and a mirror that reflects back a shape you recognize without asking permission. You have permission to take up accurate space. Being seen by you counts first.